Hello, students. Welcome back to your history class. I am Ms. Jenny Shah, and we are doing Chapter 7 Changing Cultural Traditions. Last class, we spoke about the artist and the realism, how they, they experimented with new techniques to bring realism into the artists. And then we spoke about the architecture and the famous Renaissance men like Michelangelo. Then we spoke about Filippo Brunelleschi. Okay, and today now we are going to talk about the first printed books. So how we are going to talk about the development of printing. Now, uh, people in different countries at that time wanted to see the paintings, the sculptures, or buildings of all these great artists, and they had to travel all the way to Italy to see them. But if you look at the written records or written words, what was written in Italy could travel to other countries. This was because of the greatest revolution of the 16th century, the mastery of technology of printing. Europeans were indebted to other people like the Chinese for the printing technology and to the Mongol rulers because European traders and diplomats had become familiar with it during the visit to their courts. This was the case with three other important innovations: the firearms, the compass, as well as the abacus. So the Europeans borrowed the idea of printing technology from the Chinese people because the European traders and diplomats, they became familiar with them, with the Chinese people, during their visits to the Mongol rulers' court. Now, earlier, text existed in few handwritten copies. In 1455, 150 copies of the Bible were printed in the workshop of Johannes Gutenberg. Johannes Gutenberg was a German who made the first printing press, and he printed 150 copies of the Bible in 1455. Initially, in those times, a monk used to write down the entire Bible, and the amount of time Johannesburg took to print 150 copies was equivalent and was the same amount of time a monk would take to handwrite out one copy, to handwrite out one single copy. So, by 1500, many classical texts, that is, almost all that were in Latin, were now being printed in Italy. Printed books now became available, and so it was possible to buy them, and students did not have to depend only on the lecture notes anymore. Ideas, opinions, and information moved more widely and more rapidly than ever before. A printed book promoting new ideas could quickly reach hundreds of readers. This also made it possible for individuals to read books since it was possible to buy copies for oneself. This developed the reading habit amongst the people. So now these printed books were available and everybody could buy a copy for themselves. They were the chief factor for the spread of the humanist culture across the Alps because now these books could travel. The chief reason that the humanist culture of Italy spread more rapidly to the Alps towards the end of the 15th century was that printed books were being circulated. This also explains why earlier intellectual movements have been limited to a particular area. So initially, if the intellectual movement took place, it was curbed to a particular area because it could not be spread. How would it travel to another region? So now, because of the printed books, the culture could travel from one place to another. The printing press, that is Johannes Gutenberg, he was the German goldsmith and a printer. He was the first to develop the movable type. This allowed for mass production of books. Gutenberg's invention revolutionized the bookmaking in Europe. Gutenberg was the key figure in spreading the Renaissance. His invention of movable type is still considered the most important invention in the history. What was the impact? Printing made publishing books much easier. It increased the literacy amongst people. From 1450 to 1500, 20 million books were printed that covered around 35,000 topics. Now, the vernacular literature started to be written in common language. That is, things by Dante, Chaucer, and Shakespeare was now available. One of the features of the humanist culture was lacking of control of religion over the human life. That means now religion was losing its importance, its hold, not its importance, its hold on the human life. Now Italians were strongly attracted to material, wealth, power, and glory. But they were not necessarily irreligious. Francisco Barbaro, who was a humanist from Venice, he wrote that he wrote pamphlet defending the acquisition of wealth as a virtue. In On Pleasure, Lorenzo Valla, who believed that the study of history leads man to strive for a life of perfection, criticized the Christian injunction against pleasure. There was also a concern at this time with good manners, how one should speak politely and dress correctly, what skills a person of culture should learn. So there was a book which said a book named On Pleasure, okay, of Lorenzo Valla, who thought that the study of history leads a man to attempt a life of perfection. He condemned the Christians who restricted uh, people from having pleasure. There was a lot of concern over the good manners about how one should speak and dress politely. Humanism stressed that the individuals were able to shaping their own lives through resources rather than the mere search of power and money. This belief was linked with view that human nature was many-sided and which went against the three separate orders that the feudal society at that time believed in. Machiavelli believed that all men are bad and ever ready to display their vicious nature, partly because of the fact that the human desires are insatiable. Niccolo Machiavelli, he wrote about the human nature in the 15th chapter of his book, The Prince. The new ideal of individuality and citizenship excluded women. It excluded women. Men from aristocratic families, they dominated public life and they were the decision makers in their families. They educated their sons to take their place in the family business or in the public life. At times, They even sent their younger sons to join the church. Although their dowries were invested in the family business, the women generally had no say in how their husbands should run the business. Marriages were intended only to strengthen the business alliances. If an adequate dowry could not be arranged, the daughters were sent to convents to live their life as a nun. So, the public life of women was limited and they were looked upon as the keepers of the household. This is all in the aristocratic family. Okay. Now, if you look at the merchant families, okay, the position of women in the families of merchants was different. Shopkeepers were very often assisted by their wives for running the shop. Merchants and bankers' wives look after the businesses when the male members were away on work. In case of an early death of the merchant, the widow was compelled to perform the larger public role than it was in the case of an aristocratic family. Some women were intellectually very creative and sensitive about the importance of the humanist education. Several women were intellectual humanists. Even though the study of letters promises and offers no rewards for women and no dignity, Venetian Cassandra Fedele wrote that every woman ought to seek and embrace the humanist study. She was one of the handful of women who questioned the idea that women were incapable of achieving the qualities of a humanist scholar. Fidel was known for her proficiency in Greek and Latin, and she was invited to give orations at the University of Padua. Fidel's writings brings into focus the general regard for education in that age. She was one of the many Venetian women writers who criticized the Republic for creating a highly limited definition of freedom that favored the desires of men over those of the women. Another remarkable woman, Marchesa Mantua, Isabella d'Este, she ruled the state while her husband was absent, and the court of Mantua, which is a small state, was famed for its intellectual brilliance. The writings of women of this period revealed their conviction that they should have economic power, property, and education to achieve an identity in a world which was dominated by men. So, women there were two types of public roles of the women. While the aristocratic family looked at women as the keepers, the merchants' family they were given equal importance and they were allowed to run businesses and take up the public role in case of death of their husbands. There are quite a few women renaissances. For example, Venetian Cassandra Fidel. Then there's a Venetian woman writer that is who was a sorry, a Venetian Cassandra Fidel was the Venetian woman writer. Then we have Marchesa of Mantua, Isabella d'Este. So quite a few women at that time they wrote and they ruled and they did a fantastic job. So with this, I end today's class. Next class, we'll study about the debates within the Christianism. Your homework would be to compare the aspirations for women expressed by a woman and by a man. Did they only have women of a particular class in mind? This question is given on the page number 162 of your textbook. It's an activity number 3. I want you to do these in your notebooks. Your notebooks will be called for submissions very soon. So I hope you have kept them complete. With this, I end today's class. Children, stay home, stay safe, take care, keep learning. Thank you.